Welcome, everybody, to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Thank you, as always, for coming here and hanging out with us, having a good time. Y'all, we've got new tech this week that we're trying out that we got at the last minute. So hopefully we don't have any technical difficulties. But we have technical difficulties when we already know how everything's supposed to run because technology just decides to do what it wants to sometimes, and we just have to kind of run with that. But we're going to jump into it here in just a second. If you have any comments, suggestions, or let us know what your beer of the day is, we'd love to hear it. And with that said, here we go. Welcome, everybody, to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us today for cold beer, hot conversations, and stupid jokes. I am Tim Dennis. Brian Hewitt, how you doing?
I'm okay. It's been a heck of a day, but
I'm okay.
glad to be here having a beer.
Yeah, you made it through. That's a victory in itself right there.
Yeah. I'm like, it's every step, everything is a step closer to some time off. Because I got some time off coming up, like a lot of it. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that.
All right. Well, hang in there, man. Good. Nate, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, still employed, still happy to be here. So, yeah, we'll see.
Now. For those that are not aware, Nate works in the CBD THC beverage industry. And thanks to some new bills passing there, it has put not just his job, but his industry in jeopardy. So they got a year to figure things out there, and we'll see.
Got
how
a
that
story
goes.
about that coming up.
Yeah. So what fun the world is today! Absolutely. Well, Brian, let's jump in here. Talk about our beers of the week. What are you getting into?
So I pre-gamed with Sierra Nevada's Northern Hemisphere Harvest, the 2025 edition, which is different than the non demarcated, whatever dated version of it.
Okay.
They use different hops in this one than the other ones. So it's a wet hop IPA packed with Centennial, and it was shipped and picked and in the brew kettle within 24 hours, which I love that. I'm all about the wet hop stuff. I love that. It's good stuff. I was drinking it thinking like, you know what, this would probably not be Tim's cup of tea because it is particularly, kind of West Coasty, but I don't know. Maybe you would enjoy it, but I'm guessing 80% chance that this is something I would like and you would not care for. But
that's what I was going to say. There's always the chance there with a lot of things. Like I don't like a certain profile, but every now and then one just hits right. So I don't throw out any blanket statements there, but it's a pretty good generality that I don't care for West Coast IPAs.
Yeah, I figured 80%. Sierra Nevada, they're particularly they got a particular edge to their hoppiness. And I'm thinking that might not gel with you, but I know you like Celebration, so
yeah,
I think you like Celebration. Anyway.
We'll see.
But now I'm drinking Parrish's Ghost Prime. It's a New England double IPA. It's a double dry hopped Ghost in the Machine variant that is dry hopped to saturation with cryo fresh hops, and it's great. I think this dropped a while back, and they brought it back. I saw it in the shelves again, so I'm like, well, let me get some more of that. So happy to be drinking that, and I'm going to follow things up with at the end of the show, or possibly hanging out with the Patreon folks afterwards, the AleSmith Speedway Stout, the Toasted Coconut Vietnamese Coffee Edition, which is a imperial or double coffee stout. So that means I probably won't sleep tonight, probably, but I don't care. I'm just going to go for it. So that's what I'm planning to do, Tim.
Does that come in more user-friendly sizes now, or because I know when it was here before, it was in 750s?
Yeah, so it is more user-friendly than the 750. It is a 16-ounce can, though, so it's not this is about, I believe, let me double-check. I believe it's around
That's still a big boy for that beer, though.
It is.
16 ounces is still a lot of that beer.
It's the kind of beer that would be great in those little variant bottles that we got I think a few years back, where they were like 8-ounce bottles or 8-ounce cans or something like that. I could see that being useful, but yeah, this is, you got to get into this, and it's gonna mess with you a little bit. But yes, it's smaller than 750. It's not a 22 ounce. It's not a 750. So yeah, it is a little bit more easy to approach as a single person drinking it. So yeah,
gotcha. Good stuff. Awesome. One shout out to Beer Snob Sean here. He said he's drinking a blackjack which is a Schwartz beer from Point Remove Brewing. So cheers to you, Sean. Good stuff, man. Good
Love a Schwartz beer. Love a Schwartz
Mhm.
beer.
Mo Mike Nate, what are you drinking today?
So for my pregame from Two Tides Brewing down in Savannah, Georgia, I had their Atlantic Cooler, which is their take on a Capri Sun Pacific Cooler, the little juice box thing. So this is a fruited sour with pineapple, tangerine, white grape, pear, and apple. It's really tasty. They Two Tides likes their fruited sour, so they do
They
them
do.
really
They
well.
do them well too. Right.
hmm And then in my glass currently from Pipeworks, I've got the Czech style dark lager. And shockingly enough, that is a Czech dark lager, and it's very tasty. And I agree with Beer Snob Sean that dark beers are definitely worth having tonight. And then on deck from Timber Ales, I've got Beneath Covered Bridges, which is an imperial stout conditioned on maple syrup, almonds, and Amburana wood chips.
I believe I've had one or two in Amberana wood, and I like it. I love when they use alternative woods in beers.
hmm
We get a lot of stuff that's going into bourbon barrels or things like that. So plenty of oaky ones out there. But it's nice to what was the one that Dogfish Head did? Was it Palo Santo?
Palo
Did that?
Santo, yeah, but
So
that's the name of the wood, right? It's not.
that's the name of the
Amburana.
wood.
I think so, yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. Just alternative woods, Brian. We're talking about
Oh.
alternative woods here.
Yeah, and I think that's got some interesting spice character to, like almost like a tonka bean or a cinnamon type of thing that it imparts. But I
Yeah,
might be getting
it's
that
pretty
confused
nice.
with the Palo Santo. Where do you know, Mo McNade, off the top of your head, where Timber Ales is from? I feel like I've had their beer before, like randomly it's showed up, and I have no idea where they're actually based out of.
So they are distributed here in Georgia. They're from North Haven, Connecticut.
Oh, okay. I'm from
Connecticut.
Connecticut. Okay,
All right.
cool.
Very cool, man. Very cool. I'm going to take a little bit of a detour here, as we occasionally do, and talk about something. We've talked about pinball on here. Brian and I enjoy pinball. Nate, do you ever pinball?
You
I know we
know,
talked about it. I know we have not pinballed together, Nate.
so I do not generally pinball as a pastime.
Okay, fair enough.
If I were invited to the pinball hang, I probably would
Okay.
be a little wizard about that with you boys, but it's not something that I do on my own.
You're not seeking out pinball machines and such
No.
there. Okay, fair enough, man. Well, there was some news came out this week of a new machine coming out, and there's machines that come out, and I'm like, well, that sounds cool. That sounds cool. This one sounds extremely cool. So there is a company. Is it Spooky Pinball, Brian? Is the name of the company, I think. But
I'm not sure.
they are coming out with a Beetlejuice pinball machine. And it is part of it is voice activated, where you have to say his name 3 times to get into certain modes in that. And again, although I have seen a lot of pinball machines and stuff, this looks super fun, y'all. So if you enjoy pinball along with us, check it out. Check out the gameplay videos and that. And we did fun. Nate, we found out my parents' basement will be getting one of those. So maybe we can all go hang at MPB sometime and check it out there.
I still, every time you mention that bar, I have to check myself, and because when you say my parents' basement, confident, I'm like, so we're going to Arkansas to
we're gonna go to Arkansas and play some pinball.
Basement?
That's right.
Do they still have a basement?
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever clarified that before, that my parents' basement is a beer bar here.
That's the name of it. Including
that's the name of it.
The
My parents'
basement.
And they do quite a few pinball machines. They probably have 15 or 20 there, right?
About
and then
that, yeah.
Nice craft selection, and then comic books. Interestingly enough, that's
a lot of them.
That's their triple thing. They're a big comic book section, pinball machines, and beer. So
also sandwiches, Tim. Remember those?
I'm still mad about that sandwich. That's right. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much.
I couldn't help it.
I have been to my parents' basement once, and I got dinosaur chicken nuggets.
Okay. All right.
They definitely
there you
play
go.
with the
there you go.
The parent house thing.
So AZ Cougars, Brian is not in Portland. Brian is in Atlanta, but he's from that area.
I'm from that area, and Next Level, I don't know if they existed the last time I was in Portland, but I used to live in Portland, yes. But
Yeah.
No, I don't. I don't know that particular one. I worked in Hillsboro, though. I know the name. I know the place. So I don't know. If somebody told me roundabout where it was, I'd probably remember the place. But anyway. But Tim, getting back to that pinball, it is Spooky
Yes.
Pinball. I did
Okay.
Google it. So
Yeah.
yes, you're
Yeah.
correct. I didn't realize who did it. I just assumed it was either Jersey Jack or whatchamacallit.
It does seem very Jersey Jacky with
Yeah.
the way they did that there. No, so it's and if you haven't played pinball in years and you don't know about it, these things they're advanced now. I mean, it's not just shooting a ball, across ramps and that. They've got video displays with interactive stuff, and you can spin a wheel on that, and like this one's got the sandworm pops up and does different things, and Beetlejuice comes out and does different things, and there's voice activated stuff. And so here's one thing I thought about that, Brian. That sounds really cool in theory, but how many times have you been to a pinball arcade where it would be impossible? You can't even hear your own game, much less the game hearing you.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, because they'll have a
Yeah.
soundtrack. They'll have music playing. The
Yeah.
volume would be turned down.
And
You might
40
not get the
pinball
prompt.
machines playing. Yeah.
What you'll have is everybody who plays it just yelling Beetlejuice constantly while they play it.
Yeah, right. Everybody just top of your
Just
lungs yelling.
Beetlejuicing.
They also said there's other voice control things in there that they are not going to tell you about, and people will just discover them. They said they have to do with different catchphrases within the video game. So just people sitting there doing stuff, you may say something and the game reacts to it. So I thought that was pretty cool as well. And that's AZ Cougars is saying that Next Level is near the Hillsboro Airport, and he said they have 600 plus
Whoa.
and
Wow.
several hundred. Now Brian's ready for a visit
It's been a
back
long
home
time.
to
It's
check
been,
it out.
It's
Beer
been
and
nearly 10
pinball.
years at this point. Yeah.
Good
I
stuff,
think.
man. Good stuff. Well, guys, moving into our stories, we hinted at this news a little bit in our opening there as we were making fun of Nate's pending unemployment, and the hemp ban passed, and it was not, they were talking, people were fighting for some control and limitations and regulation. They just went all in on this. So, Brian, can you share some details with us on this one?
Yeah, remember how we were talking about if it passed, it would ban nearly all hemp-derived intoxicating THC products, and how basically all the products in the market would be illegal. So yeah, it passed, like Tim said, and it mandates that all hemp-derived products must contain less than 0.4 milligrams of THC per container by November 13th, 2026. So that's basically a year from when it passed. And yeah, that very low threshold will make the popular multi-million-dollar hemp-derived THC industry extinct within a year unless a new federal legal framework is established before then. But what's interesting about this is to see what sides of this argument people are falling in on. Beer wholesalers and hemp brands are aligned with their lobbying efforts, so they're opposed to this. At this, at least some of the beverages that will be illegal are currently being produced by people that brew beer as well. So the wholesalers are on board with trying to get some sort of a solution to this so they can continue to sell it. Regulated cannabis businesses have been frustrated by hemp's ability to avoid the high costs of compliance to sell their products, and they've got spirits and large beer manufacturers on their side, and these cannabis drinks are eating into the large beer companies' profits. Basically, they're losing customers to it, so they're all about like this being illegal. On the other hand, the new law does not restrict non-intoxicating cannabinoids like CBD, CBG, or CBN, and I don't know what the last two things are, but they were listed
Nate,
in the
do
article.
you?
I know that CBN is meant to have a drowsy effect in the sense of like it's supposed to help you sleep better.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Then,
I'm
Brian,
not sure about CBG.
before you move on, I want to ask him a question about something. You said that they must contain less than 0.4 milligrams of THC per container. Nate, where are they at now? Like, where are these beverages typically as far as THC content?
So I can't speak on authority for everyone, but I know for our company, it's going to impact about 95% of our portfolio that
I
we
feel
currently
like
offer with THC.
I feel like I've seen them 5 milligram, 10 milligram, things like that. So
Yeah.
it's substantial. It's not a minuscule change there.
I spent
yeah.
a little.
Sorry, currently most of our portfolio is 10 milligram, and that will be outlawed under the language of the new ban, We do have some 3 milligram, and I think that would be okay.
And not
5
3, I don't
milligram is
think.
like,
Point 4. I think you might have trouble with that. You
yeah.
have to put it. Yeah, that would be difficult. So, in my little survey of the section that overtook the beer aisle, that became all THC cannabis type of or hemp derived things, I looked at it, and it's typically everything is it's either 5 milligrams, and sometimes it's 10, and sometimes it's a mix between like a THC and a CBD, and sometimes it's just 10. I don't know that I've seen anything that on the shelf that is ventured like at reputable places. Obviously, there's probably little places where you can get whatever you want that'll blow the roof off the top of your head or whatever. But I think 10 seems to be the top end. And that's kind of the idea is each one of these is supposed to give you an approximation of what you might feel after drinking a beer of the same size. So that's what they're going for. That's what I've been seeing. I can't survey the market, but I think those are kind of the unofficial standards for these products right now.
So on the state level, 10 milligram was the regulated standard.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
Georgia
All right.
regulated the dosage cap at 10 milligrams, and the industry kind of was following suit in that because there were a lot of early adopters that were just cramming as much hemp into the can as they could, and those companies still kind of exist, but a large portion of the industry was moving towards a standard of 10 milligrams being the high capacity.
I think self-regulation somewhat is anytime something's untethered like that, you're going to have people that just go wild with it. And all that's going to do is bring attention to your industry. It's going to whatever you happen to be doing. If you guys think back to the Four Loko days, back when it had caffeine and whatever amount of alcohol and all this, it became a problem and it was one that kids liked. The young kids like to get the fruity, Four Lokos and cram them. And you've got an energy drink with a boatload of alcohol that's appealing to kids, to underage folks. So it became a problem, and they ended up, getting in trouble for it. So it's something, if you can kind of keep controls here. And I know the hemp thing was kind of a loophole, because I don't think when they said hemp derived things were okay, they thought people were going to find out how to draw all this THC out of darn CBD there. So, that's kind of the issue with that. And Brian, I don't know if you know this or not, but will this impact like places where marijuana is legal and they're doing legal beverages from, marijuana plants?
I think it will. I think this is a blanket thing. If it's coming from hemp, it has to be under 0.4 milligrams of THC. I think it's federal and it's across the board. Places where the THC not from hemp, I think it's subject to whatever laws are in place for that. So I think they were exploiting this hemp loophole in the Farm Bill, and they've closed that off like tighter than the current thing with the THC is closed off. So so that's my thought. These things you probably won't even find them at dispensaries unless they change over to straight up being THC beverages, the same way that other things that's the whole regulated cannabis business or industry out there that has a whole level of things and can only be sold at certain stores. You're definitely not seeing their stuff at like Total Wines around the country like you are with these cannabis drinks. So Kroger, if you like that stuff, you better drink up now, because it's not looking good.
Get away you can. So Nate, has your company spoke any as to what they think, like from the industry, or do you guys have a lobbying group or a group to represent you there? And do they think there's a possibility or likelihood of getting this backed off a little bit into regulation rather than prohibition? Because prohibition historically has not worked that well in the U.S.
Correct.
So
while we are super early in this whole process, my company is still very confident that we'll be able to reach some level of regulation, lawful regulation, on the federal level before the ban goes into effect. The idea behind it is that this has already been established as a $26 billion industry, and it's going to impact roughly 320,000 jobs around the country. And it feels too big to go away by the stroke of a pen like this. And so our company is very optimistic that we're going to be able to, on a federal level, come out on the other side of this with some degree of regulation. In the meantime, we are starting to make some moves as far as insulating ourselves from the effects should that not turn out the way it does. And so we are moving into some alternative beverages from the already alternative beverages that were really popular. And so the idea, the messaging on the company leadership is that we're not going anywhere. We're going to fight this thing with every effort that we have, and they're confident that we're going to be able to have some sort of regulation so that we can go back to selling THC beverages on November 14, 2026.
All right. Well, good luck, man. Hopefully they can do something there.
Yeah.
It's tough when you're fighting to get something that's already been banned, but hopefully they will see.
I think there's so much money involved in it. It's like
It's a lot of money, man. Big
there's
industry.
a lot of money to be had, and anytime there's a lot of money to be had, suddenly people in Congress are very interested in listening to what you have to say. I'm not saying they're all on the take and crooked, but I'm saying they're all on the take and crooked.
Right. Don't read between the lines here. So.
But I personally disagree with this. I think this was the wrong play. I like to complain about the space that these beverages have taken from beer, but making them illegal was not the right play in my opinion.
Right.
I do not care for this. I think this was wrong.
We know very well how business plays into politics,
Yeah.
and that absolutely no malice meant towards the guys at New Realm at all. But our laws got changed here because they wanted to get them to build in Georgia. That's they wanted that big business
Yes.
here, having Mitch Steele come in and this big brewery on the Beltline, the jobs, the money, and all of this come in. That was, Casey Cagle, lieutenant governor at the time, he tried to act like he was friendly to craft beer. He wasn't. He was friendly to places he could see bringing money to the state and, more tax revenue in that. So he definitely acted like a champion with that. And, there's a lot of money on the table there. And I'm sure that in many, many places where it's a big business, they've got their local representatives that want to see that not go away. So
Indeed.
We'll see how that develops. Well, Brian, moving on to some more news. It's just good news all around this week. And I'm sure if you're into craft beer, you've probably already seen this story. It was very big news. We've seen tons and tons of breweries shut down across the country, and some big ones are falling. And this week we had another one go down. 37 years old, Rogue Ales is shutting down.
Yeah, this one's really surprising. And we were just talking about Oregon, and this is a place that I knew well because they were all over the place in Oregon, and they were just there. I'm like, that was just a beer that, amongst other things that I drank, like Deschutes, Rogue was around. They were never my favorite necessarily. I preferred Deschutes typically, or Bridgeport. But, they were always around. So, Rogue Ales, they reportedly ceased all operations at their production facility and 6 brew pubs as of Friday of last week. And apparently the employees were given no advance notice of this. The rumor is that Rogue employees were notified at 8 a.m. that morning that the company had ceased operations through the company's scheduling system. So I guess they got messages about their schedule, and I just think that one morning they got the schedule. They're like, "Yeah, we're not working. You're not working anymore. No, none of us are." So that's a pretty bad way of finding out, especially this close to Thanksgiving. Anyway, rough. Anyway, what makes this so surprising is in 2024, Rogue was the 50th largest craft brewery in the U.S. They were in the top 50. And you could easily find Dead Guy Ale at stores all around the country, like not long ago, like maybe not recently, but within the past few years, I think.
Not in the too distant future there, for sure.
Yeah, or too distant past, either one.
Past, right.
Yeah.
Not in the future.
That's right, in the past. What we didn't know is the brewery had been in steep decline for years. Their volume dropped 18%, 17%, 24%, and that's 2024 through 2022, respectively. So we're talking double-digit drops here, close to 20% every single year of those. And I think there were other drops the whole way back going to their peak in 2014. That's 2014 is back when they were still making the Voodoo Donut beer. Do you remember that? The pink bottles?
They had a few.
Bottles?
They had a lemon chiffon. Of course, what was it? Smoked maple, I think, was the maple bacon donut.
Maple bacon
was the one that got the most hype. And then they had a couple. I do remember that the lemon chiffon or whatever it was called tasted like Pledge or Windex smells. Yeah.
But so the reality is the company is is reportedly deeply in debt. They allegedly own the port of Newport in Oregon, $545,000 in back rent for their main facility, and they also allegedly owe $30,000 in unpaid taxes to, I believe, the county. Again, allegedly here, I don't know any of these things to be true, and I don't want us to get sued over this. This is just what I'm reading. We don't know what the fate of Rogue will be. We only know that they are currently closed. They haven't declared bankruptcy, as far as I know. I'm assuming that's something that's coming, but we also have to acknowledge that they were pioneers in craft beer. They opened in 1988, all the way back then. He was 37 years. They got into craft spirits very, very early, back in 2003, before pretty much anybody was doing it. And they introduced us all, and I didn't know this, to the 22-ounce bomber format for beers. And I missed the bomber. I like the 22-ounce bottles, but you don't see those very often anymore. But apparently that was a Rogue innovation, from what I understand.
I question that statement. Here's why, Brian. Because
why do you question that?
around in those days, so they were around in 88. I started my drinking a little bit later than 88, but not much later. And we had double deuces back then, Brian. They were not called bombers, but they were called double deuces. And you could get you a double deuce of Bud Light or Old English or many others. And, AZ Cougars was talking about me aging myself by mentioning Four Loko. So now I'm going to go back to the 90s
yes,
to talk about double deuces. But yeah, they were called double deuces before they were called bombers. And we'll have to do some research on that. We'll have to see, that. Nate, you want to see if you can find out when Bud Light came out in 22-ounce bottles or any of those macro beers there. But so, yeah, they may have introduced it in the craft world. And that's what was it? Didn't who does the little golden pills in that? Their names escape me.
Oscar
Blues.
Yeah.
Didn't they introduce craft in a can? Like legitimately,
they were the first ones to put
craft in a can.
Craft beer. Yeah. They
people hated it.
That.
They just thought it was, at first it was just awful that a craft beer would be in a can.
Heck, Red Hair introduced our local market, like local breweries putting stuff in cans, and people thought, what on earth? But they were tremendously successful in the early days with that.
They were
cans
back then. Yeah.
Anybody who got into cans early on looked like a genius until they, I don't know, they went out of business. But
until they fell. Yeah. Brian, when was the last time you had a Rogue beer?
I think the last one it's been a while. It's been years, but I think the last time I had one was the hazelnut brown. I really liked their hazelnut brown.
Okay.
I know it was I think it was fake. It was doctored with some syrup or something like that. I thought it was great. I really liked it. I remember having it the Beer Growler, not far from me. We had them on the show a few years back, but I remember having it there a few years ago. Might have been before Matt took over the place, but so it's been within the past, I'm gonna say 6-ish years, probably. Okay.
I mean, that's a long time to say. Yeah, I have no idea. Honestly, have no idea the last time I had a Rogue beer. I wasn't a big fan of Rogue. We heard a lot of things about the way they took care of their people, and it seemed to be repeated issues in that. Kind of once I found that out, and there was a few people that kind of validated that beyond just basic rumors. And I just don't have time for that. We've got a local brewery, and I'll call them out by name because I don't like it. Tucker Brewing. We were big supporters of Tucker Brewing, and we heard several repeated and verified stories of them treating employees poorly. There's just too much good beer out there, to support that kind of thing. So, that's but yeah, after that, I just really didn't pay much of mind to them. So it was probably back in the days of the maple bacon and the lemon chiffons and that I knowingly consumed a Rogue beer.
Yeah, that's maybe about right, because after I found out about that, I also slowed my roll on that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I wonder if because that got around. I mean, that wasn't, I don't know if it was like widely known, but that people heard about it. Like they heard that they did some allegedly did some really nasty things to some of their employees. So I'm sure that probably didn't help them out. I know I stopped for the most part. And I think that hazelnut stout or whatever it was. What did I say it was? Now I've already forgotten. But I believe that was the last thing.
Nut brown or something along those
hazelnut
lines.
Brown. That's what it was. Yeah. I thought it was great. I would occasionally have that. But yeah, I think you're right. Maybe we're going back 7-8 years or something like that at this point. Yeah. Anyway,
Back in the day, man, so much beer history. You know, us old guys like that, man. We can talk about, back in the day kind of things because we've been around for a lot of those days.
we have.
We have indeed, man. We have indeed. Well, Brian, I tell you what, before we move on here, how about we give a shout out to our amazing sponsors, Truck and Tap?
That's a great idea. So every week I talk about my beer picks, so it's easy to forget that Truck and Tap does more than just beer. They also do spirits and wine and even coffee. You can get that on tap there. Just this week they were showing off sexy bottles of Weller Special Reserve. That's a great bourbon. You can get it neat or over ice or in an old fashioned. Whatever you want. There are a ton of drink options, something for everyone at Truck and Tap. That said, I'm still going to do my beer picks for the week, and here they are. At Truck and Tap Woodstock, I'm going with Sierra Nevada's Narwhal. It's definitely the right time for this big, deep Russian Imperial Stout. Espresso, baker's cocoa, roasted grain, a touch of smoke. All of that in a single decadent glass. I'm drooling just thinking about it, honestly. And I kind of am drooling a little bit. At the Duluth location, I'm getting Reformation's Coconut Stark. It's a porter loaded down with toasted coconut, which is truth in advertising with that name. You might remember a few shows back where I said something about it. You don't see a lot of coconut porters that often. Well, it turns out you do see them pretty often if you hang out at Truck and Tap because they've had some variety of coconut porter for I got to say the last month or two. It's been crazy. So I feel silly for having uttered those words. But if you like that like I do, go to Truck and Tap. I'm going to keep drinking them as long as they keep pouring them. So at Truck and Tap Alfreda, my pick is another Reformation beer. This time it's their Wet Hop IPA because 'tis the season for some wet hops. This IPA features Eldorado hops that were flown directly from a farm in Michigan to Reformation for them to brew it. And I am here for that. And I really hope I get to drink that sometime soon before it gets to be too old. And finally, at the Lawrenceville location, I'm going with Creature Comforts Whale Fall Yuzu Lager. We've mentioned this one before because it's a beer for a good cause. You get a salted yuzu lager, and the Berkeley Hanen Environmental Foundation gets a donation for their coastal preservation efforts. It's a win-win. So there you have my beer picks for the week. As always, if you'd like to see the full tap list before stopping by, take a look at truckandtap.com. The taps change quickly. Some of the things I've recommended might not still be there when you get there. Who knows? You never know what new beer might be going on that might be even more exciting than something I've talked about. And if you'd like to see what the food trucks are serving and what events are happening, your trivia, your karaoke, live music, seasonal events, I don't know, charades. I'm not sure. They do a lot of things. You can find that at truckandtap.com as well. Everything you need to know can be found at truckandtap.com, so check that out. And thank you to Truck and Tap for your support.
Thank you, Truck and Tap. We appreciate it. So Nate did a little research. We're trying to find some info on our 22s here. And Nate, what you found was talking about the Bud Platinum and the aluminum ones back in 2012. But back in my day, Nate, back in the early 1800s when I was in my 20s, they had, most of the macro beers were in there. And a little bit more Googling here. All it says is the late 80s to early 90s. So that's the best approximation we've got. And who knows, man, maybe it was Rogue that did the first one because, the times are crossing over there. I would be surprised if a little craft brewery did it because, you're talking about having to have, custom made bottles and custom size and all that. That sounds like something that would start at a macro level and then a craft brewer would pick it up. But I don't know. I can't, I won't speak ill of the dead. So I won't say, for fact that Rogue didn't start it, but I know there were others in there around the same time.
I may need to do a closer read of the article and just see if it specifies.
No, it did.
It to craft beer.
Yeah, I saw it mentioned several times, and the reason I noticed it is because wait a minute, I remember getting 22s of macro beers back in the day. Are we sure that Rogue did this? But I also at the time didn't realize or didn't think about the fact that Rogue has been around since '88. So there is the possibility that they did, but. I would imagine my guess is macro breweries did it. Maybe they were the first ones to introduce that. And I do believe they coined the term bomber, because like I said, in my day, they were 22s or double deuces is what they call them.
So, and I know that Rogue did a lot of interesting things with their bottles, which kind of gives credibility to the possibility that they might have really done this. They had little minis. Do you remember those? They had mini bottles.
7 ounce?
They might have been 7 or even smaller. That a lot of people turned into like salt and pepper shakers. Like they
Was
were
that
full.
who did you say what beer?
Uh,
I know
that was
Corona
Rogue.
did them.
No,
Oh,
Rogue beer
Rogue
did
had
it.
them. Okay,
Like they were
all
the
right.
size of
Yeah,
salt
yeah.
and pepper shakers. They might have been
Interesting.
4-ounce bottles. Like, and they would have
Interesting.
they were like painted with the logos of the beer, so they were proper beer bottles. And I think
Okay.
I know that in their facilities when I would visit them, they actually had salt and pepper shakers that were like mini
They're
beer
little
bottles. So they
bottles.
definitely
That's cool.
produced them for some reason. I don't know if I saw a lot of them out in the wild, but I know they were out there, and I know going back at least maybe 20 years, maybe not quite that far back, but
Yeah.
they had stuff like that. So
Okay.
I'm not sure that they're the first 22-ounce bottle I ever saw, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were, to be honest with you.
That's
I
cool.
don't recall.
All right.
I was surprised when they said that it was attributed to them. I'm like, oh, really? I had no idea.
Right. And then Sean chimed in here and said his first legal beer was a 22 of High Life from the local. Sean, when was that? So let's get some dates here, man. When was that? So
Yeah, when
back
did
in
that
the
happen?
1800s, like me, we'll see. So, you know, I don't know if you guys knew this. So everybody knows about the 40 ounce, right?
Oh
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
did now some beers did 64s, and I remember specifically a Old English. Old English did 64s, and it was essentially you're basically talking about a jug of beer. And I
Yes.
remember that specifically because one time we were all driving over to another town. My friend was driving. I will say this: we were responsible. I had a couple friends that did not drink, and I lived in rural Arkansas. There wasn't a lot to do, so as youngins, we would go out and have a good time. But we did have someone that drove for us, and we hit a checkpoint, and
Oh,
I just happened to be chugging a 64 of Old English in the passenger seat of my own car. So my buddy was driving my car. And I just want to tell you, if you ever need to know this, and you may not, that a 64 will fit inside of a saltine cracker box if you need to
really?
hide it for some reason or another there. So
Oh,
just a little FYI if you find yourself in that situation. And
I was gonna say you may not have been driving, but an open container in a car is still
yeah,
generally frowned upon. Yeah.
I'm going to say this. Props to that. I think it was a state trooper because it was a rural highway there. We had 8 people in a Mustang because it was like us and our girlfriends, and girlfriends were setting in laps, and but my buddy was completely sober driving the vehicle. We were all they let us go, man. They told us to be safe. So, props to that because we were sure we're like, oh yeah, we're gonna have to.
And were you safe after that, Tim?
We were generally safe. I mean, we did a lot of stupid stuff, but we try to be responsible with our stupidity. Be stupid responsibly, Brian.
Yes.
That's a good slogan to live by there. So
That is.
yeah, good stuff. Well, man, moving along. More stories to tell. More stories to tell. Iron Hill. We've talked about them. This has been quite an emotional roller coaster for me, Brian, and I know many, many others. But we hear, even though they recently announced everything was closing down, they may not be gone yet.
Yeah. So Iron Hill, if you don't recall, it's a Mid-Atlantic brew pub chain that was founded in 1996. Another one that's been around for a long time. Abruptly closed and filed for bankruptcy back in October. So it's the kind of bankruptcy where they're selling out. I think it's Chapter 7 or whatever. Like all of the stuff is getting sold off.
Gone.
It's just But based on rumors we're hearing, 10 of the locations were purchased by IH Restaurants for about $12 million, and apparently the person behind that is basically ran Famous Dave's and brought them back from the brink, so he has some experience with bringing places back from the brink, and I kind of like Famous Dave's back in the day. I don't know if that was under his tenure or not, but anyway, the 10 locations that he bought are in Pennsylvania, Delaware, and South Carolina. The Delaware and South Carolina locations will be rebranded as satellite tap rooms for Virginia-based Three Notched Brewing, which I don't think I know that brewery, but they're getting expansions in a bunch of states, so that's cool. There is speculation that the other 7 locations may return as Iron Hill Brewery locations, but that is not guaranteed. That's just the possibility is there because they are not going to be Three Notched Brewing locations. As for the other 9 locations that were not purchased by IH restaurants, those will be put up for auction in early December, and there's really no telling what might happen with them. And that includes our location here, the remaining one in Dunwoody. I don't know if they own the property there, so I don't know what's maybe just the internals of the facility would be auctioned off. But if somehow they did own it and some local brewery maybe took it over and put in a spot there, what kind of brewery would you like to see take that over? Who needs to have a spot in Dunwoody, do you think? I've been puzzling that over. If a brewery around here, or just maybe another interesting brewery from out of state was coming into the market, what would be a good one to put right there?
Firestone Walker.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I win, right? I win.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Realistically, let's say if we saw one of our local joints expand, I would love to see Halfway Crooks or maybe Good Word have another outpost. Those, because Dunwoody's a little closer to me, a little more doable than the current locations there.
That'd be great for me. That's a lot easier for me to get to.
Yeah. So that would be cool. But yeah, if I could pick, I do believe right now Firestone Walker is the one brewer we do not have in Georgia. They would be very tops of my list of that I would like to see in Georgia.
That's a great idea. I was thinking Sierra Nevada maybe throwing a spot in there. Like they could handle that. Maybe I could swing up over there and get some of that Selly drippings that we were talking about last
nationwide,
week.
Man. Nationwide.
There you go.
Nationwide in both spots.
So what was on your list though, Brian? I broke out the Firestone Walker and got crazy there. But what were you said Sierra Nevada, right?
Sierra Nevada would be something that'd be cool to see there. I was just thinking if local guys expanded, I was trying to think like maybe Monday night would be kind of fun to have there. I'm trying to think who could pull it off. Like go in there, and I don't want them to go in there and fail.
Right now, that's tough for anybody, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, Brian. I mean, even if you got good beer, good location, all that, it's just really kind of a crapshoot.
I would have thought that spot, and that was the one they didn't close down. So that spot does seem to be a good one. It's near a mall. It's like it's actually attached to a mall, basically. So it's not on the best.
But I don't know that
it,
it's a beery area is the biggest thing. That
point.
area, there's a ton of office parks there. There's a lot of people going out there for shopping, hitting the malls and doing their thing there. But I just don't know that. Well, maybe, with there being so many offices there, maybe they can catch like happy hour crowds and stuff. But
we need
I don't know, man. I don't
Creature
know.
Comforts needs a spot here in inside of Atlanta.
That's true. They would probably be the one as far as local breweries that would have the best chance of doing that. And they talked years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? If we've got anyone listening in LA, I've had rumors of this, but there has not been an official announcement unless I missed it. But I heard they just quietly closed their Los Angeles brewery. Creature Comforts did. And
I've seen that too. Yeah.
So the location was pulled from the website. And if you look at them on Google Maps, it says permanently closed. And then someone said that was updated to temporarily closed. But there's not been any kind of announcement or anything there. I mean, I think the fact that it can happen without any kind of announcement, that probably doesn't say great things about it there. I mean, they're big stuff in Georgia, but maybe not so much in LA,
No, they wouldn't have the same connection over there. Probably, they're not hometown boys. But I remember seeing people talking about the place being closed. So it definitely closed. Like I don't know if it's closed for good, but there were people that went there back when this story was kind of hinted about. There wasn't enough there for us to really talk about in the show because we didn't see confirmation anywhere. I just saw people talking on social media or Reddit about how they liked the place and then it was closed and they were disappointed because it was great. Some people that actually were from Georgia would go there to watch games and whatnot. They enjoyed it. And it definitely closed for some reason. Is it gone?
Yeah.
I have no idea. The rumors are that it is. I think I read somewhere that a licensee had it and it's just no longer there. I don't honestly have no idea and they've been very quiet about it. Nothing's come out that I've seen.
And when they opened in Georgia, respect to the forefathers here, but they really did take Georgia beer up a notch. They raised the bar on quality in Georgia, and a lot of people that came after them kind of had to, meet or exceed that. But you're talking the SoCal market. You've already got a ton of great beer there.
Oh, yeah.
So even if you go in and you're a really good brewery, you've already got a lot of people that are probably loyal to their, to the local joints anyhow. So I imagine that would be tough, even for a great brewery, Creature going out there, tough battle. But
Yeah,
anyhow,
I read some chatter speculating about the closure, and one of
yeah,
the things was talking about how they were already in like an established beer community. They didn't need an East Coast brewery representing out there. I thought they opened over there though because a lot of the Marvel people, fell in love with Creature Comforts after
well, they had
filming a
backing.
lot of those movies.
They had backing. Like one of the partners was one of those. I forget who was it, Ruffalo, or one of them. One
I
of
don't
them there.
recall who did it. Yeah.
One of the big Hollywood guys. I don't remember if it was the producer that got in there, but they had fans. They had financial backing there, from one of the Hollywood elite, so to speak. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it had a good pedigree, great great Georgia brewery, had the money behind it and everything, but doesn't always mean success, man.
And you have to
Yeah.
keep in mind, it like the casts of the movies may have loved it, but are they going to show up every week and drink the beer? No, they're
Sure,
not.
sure,
Thor is not going to sit back there hammering, Tropicalias in the back table. It ain't going to happen. They need people that are local to the area
sure.
to actually show up and start drinking the beer. And you know, I guess that wasn't happening, or not
It does.
enough.
Not enough, man. Not enough there for sure. So, well, interesting. All right, moving along, moving along. More stories to tell, Brian. Again, we're seeing things, closures, openings, mergers, acquisitions, and that. And Wilding Brands, which I've heard the name, but I'm not even sure what all they've got their hands into. But they just bought Upslope Brewing.
Yeah, yeah. According to the Denver Post, that is their third brewery acquisition of the year. Upslope Brewing. The financial terms for that transaction were not disclosed, but this follows their acquisitions of Great Divide in April and Station 26 Brewing, which I'm not familiar with, back in June. If you haven't heard of Wilding Brands before now, that's because they're a very new company. Wilding Brands formed in early 2025, early this year, through the merger of local beverage makers Stem Ciders, Denver Beer Company, and Funkworks Brewery. We probably saw it because we look at the news, but haven't really talked about it before now. Already, its portfolio includes Howdy Beer, Easy Living Sparkling Hop Water, Venga Mexican Lager, and Formation Brewing, not to mention, of course, Great Divide, Station 26, and Upslope Brewing, like I just said. So a lot of breweries, a lot of beverage makers. They're kind of sounding like the Colorado Tilray right now, but with the addition of Upslope, Wilding Brands expects to produce over 80,000 barrels of beverages annually, making it the second largest independent craft beverage company in Colorado. Like, we're going to say beverage company now because not all of these are actually beer. As for what's going to happen with Upslope, Wilding Brands owns everything but the 3 tap rooms that they had. Those will continue to operate under the current ownership. Production of all of Upslope's beverages will immediately move to Wilding's centralized CanWorks facility in Denver. So, yeah, Wilding Brands went from I barely heard about them to like being huge, like very quickly. I'm sure they're gonna. I wouldn't be surprised if they show up in the top 50 list of craft.
Yeah, that's one way to get buy your way to the top, man.
Yeah, seriously.
So I'm imagining I've probably heard about them with the Great Divide acquisition. That sounds like something that definitely would have hit my radar there, and probably said the same thing. Then Wilding Brands, who is that? But that's probably where I've heard of them before. Curious, man. I tell you what, interesting times with companies buying breweries, and I don't know. I don't think we know what's going to happen out there. It just looks like a lot of stuff, but we still got breweries. At least here locally, we've got a couple that are still building new locations and expanding.
Yes.
I don't remember. Actually, I did. There was a brewery that opened recently in one of the little suburb towns here. And that's another thing, Brian. It's also going from when a newer brewery does open, everybody in the beer community knew about it. There was a lot of hoopla in that these places are open really quietly now. And I don't know if it's because there's not enough media hype behind them, but we've talked about it a few times. But if you go back 5 years, a brewery didn't open in the state of Georgia without making sure we knew, along with a few other people. And that's not a pat on my own our backs or anything, but they did. They got with us, and they would let Al Sharpton know, and we had Reed over at Beer Street Journal,
Mhm.
and a lot of this stuff is happening, and I hear about it because someone drives by it and sees it and posts it in a Reddit thread. That's where I'm hearing about this stuff now. And even on social media, there was so much chatter going on and so many people interacting there that those stories stayed at the top of the feed. And it's just not getting that level anymore, unfortunately.
I think with a lot of places that are opening now, they don't. I think a lot of them are looking like, I'm just going to be the locals place. I'm looking
Yeah.
for the people in the 10 miles around me, the radius around me is my clientele, and I don't need to reach out to people, especially you're talking about suburbs that are well outside of Atlanta. I don't need to reach out to people based in Atlanta. I'm not expecting them to come out here, so I'm not even going to worry about it. I've always found that surprising and interesting. Like, why wouldn't you reach out to people that talk to a lot of people and mention that you're opening a brewery? Because we're interested in that. We're likely to bring it up, but it's a decision, I guess, or maybe they're
respect
busy.
to
Yeah,
respect to serving the local community. Look,
Yeah.
we're not trying to be the next big thing. We're just trying to have, loyal locals here, and we'll do just fine with that. So
and
good
that
for
could
them,
be
man.
it.
Yeah. Okay.
The day of people opening up and saying they're going to reimagine sour beers or redo the greatest stout brewery of all time. Like, we saw people that opened up saying that even before things were turning sour, that they closed up shortly thereafter because bravado and try to do a big thing, and then yeah, not accomplishing
Hubris.
it also happened a fair amount. Yeah, hubris. We don't
Jason
see
Pellet's
that now.
hubris.
People are. Yeah, we see a little bit more humility with people opening up
Gotta be,
breweries
man.
these days.
Gotta be. Well, Brian, I have got some good news for you. Once again, we have an amazing invention from Gen Z, and they've invented so many great things, Brian.
They have.
They're really a treasure to society in essence. But
They really
Brian,
are.
Gen Z has invented the Turbo Guinness.
Yeah, I think we need special theme music for a Gen Z.
Wait,
invention
let me see.
stories.
Let me see what I got. Hold
Do we
on.
have
Let me see.
something?
Give me just. I don't know. But let me look. People, bear with us. We got to.
Ooh, yeah. All right, that's close enough.
Okay, that'll work. We'll go.
So
with that.
to start off with, as you've no doubt heard, Guinness is having a real moment lately, and by lately I mean probably a couple of years at this point, driven by a combination of it's a great beer, but also it's got history. There's nostalgia tied into it. There's a lot of viral social media trends and challenges in quotes. We've already talked about splitting the G, and I have personally regretted making and drinking the Gonster. If you haven't heard of that, that is a half and half with Guinness made with Monster's Neon Green energy drink. I'm not sure which specific one that is, but it is visually striking and is chemically awful in the mouth. But anyway, so we're talking about the Turbo Challenge now. It all started out with a simple TikTok video, like many of these things do, of a guy dumping a shot of espresso into his pint of Guinness. That's all it took for it to go viral and for 1.3 million views, to be accumulated, and thousands of people to try it. There's people just bored, I guess. But of course, just dropping an espresso shot into Guinness is not enough for the internet. We need to turn this into a challenge. So this evolved very quickly into the Turbo Challenge that we were talking about, which requires you to do the following in order. First, you must successfully split the G. So you got to drink to the middle of that G on your Guinness. You have to do that first challenge. Next, you must replace the beer you drank with a triple shot of espresso. And finally, you must chug the remaining beer and espresso as quickly as possible. And bonus points if you're over, 30, you die of a heart attack from all the alcohol and the caffeine hitting your system at once. But anyway, as with all the things Gen Z invents, there's nothing new about coffee in Guinness. Invents in quotes, yes. Guinness introduced its own nitro coffee cold brew back in April of 2021, and it's still available, at least here in the U.S. I think it might have been discontinued over in Europe and the U.K., but I distinctly, personally remember ordering Guinness with a shot of espresso over 15 years ago at a popular brunch location here in Atlanta. I checked, it's still on the menu, and they call it an espresso stout, and it is specifically Guinness with a shot of espresso in it. So I've done this. Like, far enough back that most of Gen Z were still in diapers. But anyway, to be fair, I did not split the G when I drank it, so I did not pass the turbo challenge. But what do you guys think? Are you guys going to try the turbo challenge?
I've been there, Brett. No, I'm not. But
No.
Gen Z have fun with that. But
Yeah.
I mean, coffee and Guinness is good. It's a nice
Yeah.
combo. Can't argue with them on that. So
It's legit. No, that's great.
it is.
I have actually tried brewing coffee by pouring Guinness through the grounds, and have done that myself, and that was interesting. Not the greatest choice I ever made with my life.
I
think
could
that
see
was
that.
it didn't work out so well, but I've done some interesting things with Guinness. I don't know if I've ever put anything else in it. I might have thrown a shot of espresso, and obviously I ordered it that way. I'm not sure if I've ever done it.
Put some
Have you-
Waldmeister syrup in there, little something like that.
I haven't done that.
Mint Schuss in your Guinness.
Have you tried that? Is that something you've done?
No.
Have you ever put anything in a Guinness?
I mean,
from
no.
your
Other
mouth?
than like other than like doing your typical like blacks and tans or things like that, we tried. I
point,
forget
yeah.
what it's called now, but Guinness and Coke. We tried that
Oh,
one, and
yeah.
actually not horrible, to be quite honest with you.
That
So,
was good. Oh,
Yeah.
I forgot what that was called. It was like
I forget what
the
it's called
Trojan
as
horse,
well.
I think. I think it was called the
it?
Trojan
Okay.
horse.
Okay.
Yeah, that
not
came
bad
from
there.
Guinness, though. That was from a 1970s pamphlet from Guinness that you can download off the internet. You can still find it, and I believe there's one for tomato juice, which is terrible.
There
Don't
was.
do that.
Yeah.
But the one
Yeah.
with
That, yeah.
I think it's the Trojan horse with there's one with port. You can put port, I think, or sherry in it. Not bad. And
Okay.
the Coke one, the Trojan horse, surprisingly good. Yeah.
I mean, just a standard Boilermaker type, like a shot of what's the cheap Irish whiskey? Jameson's. A Jameson's and
Jameson.
Guinness or something like that. But
Yeah.
I've got some interesting info on Guinness here. That's Craft Beer and Brewing Magazine does a best of survey each year. And they have people rate their best beers. Pliny the Elder has been number one for many, many, many years. But this year, Pint House Electric Jellyfish took the number one spot. That's one I've never even heard of.
I
But
don't know that one.
I feel like I want to try it because of it. It punched Pliny down there. But even more interesting to me is Guinness made this list, and this is from a craft beer magazine, and people voting on their favorite beers. Guinness is number 14 out of 25 here.
Wow.
So yeah, very interesting. The others in the top five, you got that Pine House Electric Jellyfish, Russian River's Pliny the Elder, Absolution's 405 IPA. They're also new on the list. Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, always a classic. They were number 2 last year. And Highland Park's Timbo Pills, which was number 3 last year. It's on there. And Brian, Sierra Nevada's Celebration did make it on the list. They're number 8. They were number 11 last year. So
Good. They
yeah,
should-
but seeing
moving on
Guinness
up,
on
yeah.
there, that was interesting stuff. I don't see any of our Georgia boys on the top 25 list here. We've got
That's surprising. Guinness all the way up on that list. I'm like,
Yeah.
Guinness is great. I like Guinness. I'm not
Yeah.
hating on Guinness at all.
Guinness beat
I'm surprised to
Spotted
see it on
Cow,
there.
Brian.
No kidding.
Yeah,
That's-
yeah. I think the closest one I see here in our neck of the woods is Burial Surf Wax. Made the list at number 21
Oh.
there. So that's
I
an
need to drink that
Asheville
again.
beer.
We get that occasionally here, and the problem is I don't very often see it, and it's not usually very fresh when I do. But
Yeah,
I need to
tough to
revisit that. I've heard really good things, and I don't.
You can
remember
order
if I like
online
it or
though.
not.
You can
Oh,
get it
can
out
I?
there.
Oh,
So
maybe I should
that's
do
right.
that. That's a good idea.
Burial will deliver straight to you there. Yeah.
How about
absolutely.
that? What a time to be alive!
What
and
a
drinking.
time to be alive. Good stuff. That about wraps it up for us this week. We appreciate you as always for hanging out with us. If you enjoy what we're doing, we'd love for you to tell a friend to tune in, subscribe, listen to the show, talk about it everywhere you go. You know what? This week, make it your goal to talk to as many people as you can about Beer Guys Radio. We'd greatly appreciate it. If you really dig what we're doing, we'd love your support on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/beerguys. It doesn't cost you that much. We'll get you some cool swag out. We'll get you into our Patreon Discord server, and we'll do things like invite you to the after party when we record a show. But with all that said, we hope that you all have a really, really good week. And don't forget to drink local. Cheers.
Clear.
Ooh,
So clear.
Pint
We did
House
it.
is based out of Austin, Texas.
Austin,
are.
Texas,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Didn't know.
We are going to end the stream here again. If you're a Patreon supporter, we'll put the link in there for you to come hang with us for the after party. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you again soon.